The denouement of the 2026 NHL Draft Lottery is going to be a fun wave to ride until, inevitably, we start talking about other things related to the Vancouver Canucks. Obviously, I'm a guy here in Vancouver and I cheer for Vancouver, so we're going to be making videos on all the narratives surrounding the Canucks and what possibilities there are. You see, this video needed to be made, because even though we've already spoken about the different possibilities of whom it is the Canucks could take at number 3, even though we already spoke about Craig Button and his mock draft, you have Frank Seravalli, who decided this morning to publish his own mock draft that has a whole bunch of people up in arms. You can have your opinions on Frank Seravalli. You can believe what you want to believe. You can say what you want to say. Obviously, he is a hockey writer, insider, quote-unquote, and analyst. So when he has a mock draft, usually it's a pretty big deal. And Frank Seravalli's mock draft is a big deal. Take a look at this. He went out there and posted on Twitter, "Here's my first run at the top 5 in the 2026 NHL Draft. Mock. I have the Canucks taking Gavin McKenna at number 3. Details." Oh my gosh, dude. Frank Seravalli. This guy's predicting the Canucks take Gavin McKenna at 3. This is seriously Shane Wright from 2022 all over again, except from 1 to 4, he goes from 1 to 3? Dude. There is no way we are going to see the Shane Wright situation play out again, right? Right, haha, that's funny. But Shane Wright is a guy that was taken 4th overall by the Seattle Kraken back in 2022, despite the fact that for years he was projected to go number 1. We were talking about Shane Wright as a 1st overall pick as far back as like 2018, 2019, when he's playing for the Don Mills Flyers U16 AAA team and dominating that program with Brant Clark and Brennan Othman? Yeah, that's right. I remember the Don Mills Flyers and all the guys that were going out there and doing stuff in that organization. But Shane Wright was projected 1st overall for 3-4 years before he actually went 4th overall. The draft season that he had wasn't particularly bad, it was just there were other guys that were proving valuable. Yuri Slafkovsky had all these goals at the Olympics and the World Championships. Simon Nemec was going to a team that, quite frankly, needed a defenseman. And Logan Cooley was doing some pretty good work in the NTDP, so there were a number of reasons why Shane Wright fell to 4, but none of them were specifically because he was bad, quote-unquote. Frank Seravalli is arguing the same thing could be said here, except in some sort of a different way. You see, Wright, of course, was a center who ended up slipping from 1 to 4 over a winger in Slafkovsky, another center in Cooley, and a defenseman in Simon Nemec. When you take a look at Gavin McKenna, there is a very distinct flavor that Seravalli is writing about in his mock draft. He has Stenberg going number 1 to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and if you read the write-up, it said here, in a small upset, the Leafs would take the potential winger addition of Alexander Barkov over the dynamic Gavin McKenna. Stenberg projects as a consummate 200-foot player who will immediately slot on Matthews' left flank, not to mention Toronto's first power play and penalty kill. Leafs Nation may initially be disappointed in not drafting the flashier McKenna, but recent playoff disappointments should remind Leafs fans that you need more than just elite offensive skill to advance in the playoffs. Stenberg will bring the skill and a whole lot more as a thicker, more physical replacement for Mitch Marner. Now, it's kind of funny because I don't think Stenberg is really being given his credit when it comes to his offensive potential. You've got folks like Button saying he's going to go 4 to Chicago. You've got Seravalli saying he's going 1 to Toronto. I think while it's true Gavin McKenna has a more dynamic upper-end ceiling, like, I wouldn't be surprised if when it's all said and done, Gavin McKenna has more points than Stenberg. But if Stenberg's going out there and winning more championships, if he's got Selke winning potential despite being a winger, then okay, I don't necessarily think that's all too unrealistic either, but is that enough to take him 1st overall? We have seen what dynamic, not necessarily purely offensive wingers can do when it comes to these NHL drafts. Yuri Slafkovsky, of course, going first because he was big and he scored a ton of goals, not because he's a super amazing, flashy, dangly, Nikita Kucherov-esque forward, but because of all the intangibles he brings. Stenberg going 1 would be somewhat of a similar thing, even though he's not necessarily Slafkovsky. Frank Seravalli on his mock draft then has a second overall decision from San Jose. He's going Keaton Verhoff. Okay, it's not even Chase Reed. There are a number of people that believe that Chase Reed could go number 2 as the top defenseman in this draft, but Seravalli has Verhoff. Dilemma time for the Sharks, right? It's a tantalizing thought to add McKenna to a forward group that includes Celebrini, Smith, and Misa, but I'd be floored if the Sharks add another forward this draft with such a clear positional need. They have 2 NHL defensemen under contract next season and desperately need help on the blue line to transform from a competitive team to a contending team. They've spent a long time closely watching Verhoff, and he has the chance to be a franchise D-man. He was a goalie until age 12 and is still raw, so patience will be required, but Verhoff offers the most upside over any D in this draft. Really? Verhoff the highest upside over Chase Reed. That's pretty interesting. Now, with that, number 3, you've got Gavin McKenna. Fear not, Canucks Army. After slipping to the 3rd pick, Vancouver gets their man from Whitehorse, Yukon, an electric offensive talent. McKenna will add the skill and speed that Vancouver craves as the Canucks embark on a multi-year rebuild. His arrival could also spark the rejuvenation of gifted Elias Pettersson. McKenna, as the new face of the franchise, will give beleaguered Canucks fans a legitimate and maybe the only reason to watch as they compete for the top pick again next season. So I'm going to say this. If Gavin McKenna goes number 3 to Vancouver, I don't think we're going to necessarily complain. Is that possible, though? Is that actually a realistic idea? I'm not sure. The odds of Toronto skipping on McKenna to take Stenberg, while it's true Matt Sundin being in the mix makes it a little bit more likely than it would have been otherwise, I just don't really know if this is even a thought worth entertaining. I mean, it's Frank Seravalli. He's on Sportsnet radio all the time. If this guy's going to go out there on Halford and Bruff onto Canucks Central and start talking about how, oh yeah, I think the Canucks could actually take McKenna at 3, then that's going to be a super interesting field day for Canucks radio, isn't it? Now, with that said, there have been some other writers and analysts going out there and talking about the 3rd overall pick. On TSN, you have Craig Button, who said that Chase Reed is going to go number 2. On Sportsnet, you have Sam Constantino, who said the same thing, that Reed could go number 2. And then you have Thomas Drance on The Athletic, who said that the Canucks are probably just going to take Malhotra or Reed, depending on if Stenberg is available or not, which, if he is, then the Canucks would just take Stenberg. So we have kind of the same 4 or 5 guys floating around the top of the NHL draft. It's McKenna, Stenberg, Verhoff, Reed, and Malhotra. Vancouver is going to mathematically have one of these guys, 2 of these guys even, available at their disposal. And if you dismiss Keaton Verhoff, that leaves room for one of these guys to ultimately be there. Vancouver is going to take one of them, and hopefully it's the right one. And by right one, I literally just mean the guy that is the best player available down the line. We want to see another Cale Makar situation, don't we? We want to see another Lucas Raymond situation, don't we? With that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Frank Seravalli's interesting mock draft, where Gavin McKenna slides to number 3, to be taken by the Vancouver Canucks, and have the Toronto Maple Leafs take Ivar Stenberg number 1? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on. And bye.